Welcome to Disability News and Views, a program brought to you by the Mayor's Commission for Persons with Disabilities. I'm Kristen McCosh, the Disability Commissioner and ADA Title II Coordinator for the City of Boston. In this episode, we'll have some exciting updates about work we're doing in the city, along with some community events that will be coming up in Boston this spring. Then my co-host, Ken Meyer, will be speaking with our guest this month, Heather Watkins, a local disability advocate, writer, and longtime Boston resident. The Mayor's Commission for Persons with Disabilities will be hosting our annual Disability Community Forum on Wednesday, May 10th. This event helps our staff and other city officials set accessibility priorities for the City of Boston every year. Attendees will have an opportunity to meet members of the Disability Commission Advisory Board, city officials, and others to make their concerns about accessibility known. Our 2017 Community Forum will be held at Suffolk University Law School, located at 120 Tremont Street near Park Street Station. Again, the forum will be on May 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. at Suffolk University Law School. We encourage everybody in the disability community to attend to make your concerns known. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with our office at 617-635-3682 or disability@boston.gov. So I have some updates on wheelchair accessible taxis in the City of Boston, also known as WAVE cabs, W-A-V, which stands for Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle. Over the past 5 years, the city has worked to increase the number of wheelchair accessible taxis that are fully compliant with the ADA. Our goal is to have all 100 of the city's WAVE vehicles be fully wheelchair accessible by the end of 2017. There are currently 44 fully ADA compliant WAVE vehicles in the city, with more on the way this spring. All of the ADA compliant taxi cabs have a letter grade of A on the rear of the vehicle next to the wheelchair symbol. A full list of accessible taxis is available through our office at www.boston.gov/disability or by calling 617-635-3682. This July will mark the 27th anniversary of the passing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. On behalf of the Mayor's Commission for Persons with Disabilities, I'd like to invite everyone to join us for this year's ADA celebration on City Hall Plaza. This year's event will take place on July 25th, which is a Tuesday. So come out and join us for a fun day of music, food, and a resource fair of local organizations that serve people with disabilities. Watch for an announcement from our office with details coming soon. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter to find out the latest information on our events. And again, just email disability@boston.gov. Finally, I would like to let our viewers know about the next meeting of the Disability Commission Advisory Board. The Advisory Board is made up of Boston residents with disabilities who advise the mayor and city officials about local issues that impact the disability community. Our next meeting will be held, meetings are held on the fourth Monday of every month in Boston City Hall. Our next meeting will be held in April from 5:30 to 7:30 in Boston City Hall, and we encourage everyone to attend. Now I'd like to throw the show over to my co-host, Ken Meyer, who will be speaking with Heather Watkins, our special guest this month. Ken?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And Heather Watkins, well-known disability advocate for the Boston area. It is a pleasure to have you here on this broadcast. Now, in checking you out, as it were, I know that you were going to, or went to, Emerson College,
yes,
which I know of as a school of communications.
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I was there being a communications student, and I got my degree in 97, in mass communications.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
But what led you to become a disability advocate from Emerson College?
From Emerson College, it's a nice little journey. You know, I was born with muscular dystrophy, so it's kind of a natural fit. I had already seen throughout my lifetime points of inaccessibility that I was frustrated with, even on campus. So I started at Emerson College, left, and then went to Newberry College to finish up my gen eds, and then came back and finished up my degree. But on each campus, there was always something that kind of stuck out that was frustrating to get around. So having accumulated all of those kinds of thoughts and then graduating and then moving on to work at one of the top HMOs in the state, then leaving after my disability had progressed, kind of thought about what I wanted to do next. And once I thought about what I wanted, where I wanted my life's trajectory to go, disability advocacy started to stand out. I started to think about all the things I was frustrated by, and just to get involved in something that was a little bit bigger than myself. And it was sort of like this natural progression, this organic blossoming, this taking shape, if you will. And that's pretty much how I got into disability advocacy.
Now, you are a parent.
Yes.
You have a daughter. How has being or having a disability changed you, if at all, as a parent?
Well, you know, parenting is challenging, to say the least. Parenting with a disability adds another dimension. So I always say that disability, since it permeates every aspect, you know, of your lived experience, it certainly, you know, affected my parenting, particularly because I think I was hyper aware and hyper concerned about safety and being a good parent. So all of my decisions regarding my daughter were very kind of carefully meted out, because I knew, you know, little eyes were watching and would be affected by every decision. So it became particularly concerning to me to have her sort of, you know, watch her mother respond to challenge. And I wanted to kind of create a blueprint for her to follow. Not exactly, not to be a clone or a mini-me, but kind of feel empowered and confident to create her own path. And so I definitely credit having a disability with impacting my parental skills in that way.
A couple of minutes ago, our commissioner alluded to the Boston Advisory Board, and I know you were a member of it for
Yes.
quite a while and were the chairman of it.
Yes.
Tell us about how you got involved with it and your work with and some of the accomplishments of the advisory board when they were lucky enough to have you as a member.
So in that natural progression of getting involved with disability advocacy, I was sitting at home and kind of like thinking about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get involved with next. So in checking out things online, I took a course through the Massachusetts Office on Disabilities, a 2-day CAM training course, which is Community Access Monitoring. Mm-hmm. And so after I did that, I kind of was, you know, surveying the community and figuring out what I wanted to do and get involved with. And I was up one night and I saw a news broadcast with another local advocate who happened to be Liz Casey at the time, and she was affiliated with Boston Center for Independent Living. Well, Liz was in my community as well, Roslindale, and she was talking with a reporter about all of these different points of inaccessibility in the community. And I thought to myself, now look at this. This is the same thing I'm being frustrated by. And I had to make it a point to get in contact with Liz. So once I got in contact with her, we met up and we started talking about the things in the community that we wanted to kind of work on. And then when she introduced me to BCIL, and I got involved with BCIL, they ended up connecting and recommending me to the commission, saying, you know, it's going to be reconvened. So I applied, and in August of 2009, I was accepted to the board. And then when Commissioner came on in October of 2010, started happily working for her under her leadership. So it's been a whirlwind since then, and we've been involved in Different things throughout the city, structural as well as systemic. You know, anything from curb cuts to accessible voting booths, a lot of the things with the MBTA, with the wave accessibility taxis that the Commissioner was talking about earlier. There's been so many things that we've been involved in that I've been happy to weigh in and talk about it in terms of my own life, lived experience. So I couldn't be more proud.
If I say the name Harriet Tubman.
Tubman, yes.
Tell us about that name.
Harriet Tubman is a very interesting social icon. You know, she was an enslaved woman, but she also was a disabled woman. She had epilepsy, she had narcolepsy, and to find out that she was a disabled black woman, I only found that out probably 3 to 4 years ago, which to me is troubling because you should find that stuff out, you know, in school. And I wish that part of our identities weren't erased in that way. Fannie Lou Hamer was another disabled black woman. Brad Lomax, he participated in the 504 sit-ins. You know, and it's just, he had multiple sclerosis, I believe. And so it's just interesting finding out so many more of our, you know, cultural heroes and icons that have contributed to the fabric of our communities and who have disabilities. Because I try to, you know, let people know and make them aware that, you know, a disability is you know, when you consider it from a 360 point of, you know, in a comprehensive way, so to speak, you can see how much it contributes to your life. You know, disabilities, the DIS prefix is not only un and not, but it has a Latin and Greek derivative, meaning duo and two. So it's, you know, another way of doing, being, you know. And so when you tell people that, and then people's eyes widen, and they say, oh. So if I tell you I'm disabled, I'm telling you I do things a different way.
All right. Many people always like to use the phrase, support local businesses, including accessibility. Are you able to do that?
I would love to support more local businesses, if only they, you know, were accessible. Even in my own community, I've talked about this a lot of times in Rosendale. There still are many businesses with steps, narrow doorways, inaccessible parking, restrooms. And so if the push is to shop local, well, it's difficult to do that if I can't even access your business. And I think maybe people aren't aware that there are grants, matching fund grants through the City of Boston, through the Main Streets program, and also through the ADA.gov website, where people can get tax deductions, credits, and again, tax deductions to help them with accessibility upgrades.
This is the 21st century, and I am curious, do you still encounter, or are there ever issues of racism that occur in your lifetime?
Racism is so deeply embedded in the fabric of the country. Certainly as a lighter-skinned woman, I don't encounter as much. They're more microaggressions. Someone who is darker-skinned, males, or might have more police interaction due to profiling. That's a really deep subject, I mean, because we have so many who have been impacted in that way, you know, through structural inequities. And I mean, we could probably have a whole other show about racism. So, you know, it's just an ongoing conversation that unless and until we're all ready to really sit down and be uncomfortable and realize that being uncomfortable is a part of growth, then it's going to be a conversation that's going to be constantly swept aside because people don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to be on the hot seat, but that's a part of growing. You go to the gym, you break down muscle fibers. The time in between is the growth period. And then it's to your benefit because you're building core muscles. You know, it helps your primary, secondary, and tertiary muscles. So there's a radius of impact, but people have to get to that knowledge and understanding. And if they don't, well, we'll stay in the same place.
I know that poetry is very important in your life and important to you. Tell us about that.
Yes. Along with writing and working on my blog, I add bits of poetry because that's kind of just the way my mind thinks. Sometimes I will think in rhyme. And in fact, my daughter gets it honestly because she's now become a rapper. Yes, and she's got a show coming up at the House of Blues. So small plug.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When is it?
It's March 23rd, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. So she's been doing that a little bit. She's 23 now. Mm-hmm. And she is just, you know, a smart, self-assured, willful. We're two alpha females, so we certainly rub heads. and that's fine because, you know, when you put it out there and you teach your children, it comes back at you first. Mm-hmm. So I have that understanding, but, you know, it can be frustrating, but it's a learning process, and I think your kids teach you a lot about who you are and what you actually stand for in terms of integrity, you know, and growth. So it's definitely, you know, parenting has been a blessing for me.
Take a moment and tell us about your blog.
Thank you. Slow Walkers. seemore.wordpress.com, and it's really just a snapshot of my life, having a disability, and just a lot of my experiences. Again, more poetry and a mix. I kind of just wanted to give an overview of what my life has been like and going further, and all of the things that I've encountered and kind of look forward to. So I hope that when people read it, get something out of it, maybe be amused, maybe, you know, get a pop of insight. And I hope that's what people see in it once they read it.
I know that your poetry and your blog have enabled you to do some great things as far as speaking and speaking engagements are concerned.
Yes.
Take a moment and literally blow your own horn, as it were, and tell us about some of those.
Well, this past December, I was invited to recite some poetry at the Mass Electoral College proceedings, and that happened on December 19th in front of the Mass Legislature. And so that poem, which I cannot recite right now because I have not committed it to memory. It's on my blog, though. That was really fun to do that and be a part of that, and that will be a part of Massachusetts history. So, and another time, last November, at the Disability Intersectionality Summit, the inaugural, I was the keynote speaker, and I talked about my experience of being a Black disabled woman. So that was really exciting. And that presentation probably was about 20 minutes. And I tell you, it was exciting because it was so many disabled people filling the room with cross disabilities, people from all parts of the country. And again, it was live streamed. There were so many points of access for people to really take in this summit that yielded some really good information from multiply marginalized folks, many of whom were of color. I think all actually were of color. Maybe one, I think it was one person who wasn't. So it's really good to just hear people who don't generally, get the spotlight. A lot of what we see in the disability community is default. It's white folks. So it's really good to hear multiply marginalized folks who are coming from, different lived experience to add and really give texture and context to this community.
I get the sense that you, like me, love to speak in front of an audience. I adore the chance to do it. And there is nothing more exhilarating, I don't think, other than sitting here in front of a microphone, than doing that?
I really have a good time. I feel like I'm getting more comfortable speaking in front of audiences. For a while, I was a little bit more laid back, and I love the conversational tones in more intimate settings. I'll tell you what, leading up to my keynote engagement, it was just fraught with a little anxiety because I was thinking, oh, I want to have this come off perfectly. I don't want any glitches. But you get into it, you get relaxed, and you get a feel for the audience, and everybody wants you to do well. So once you absorb that, you kind of just go with the flow.
In the last minute or two that we have remaining, I have a note here that says fashion show.
Yes, I'm involved with the Fashion Accessibility Project. That's a collaboration through the Epicenter community, and it's headed by Malia Lazu. That will take place at the end of June, June 24th to be exact. And it will be held at one of the Emerson College theaters. I don't know exactly which one yet, but that'll be finalized. So that's really exciting. I'll get fitted for an outfit, and many people in the community will participate in this runway show.
Now, a lot of people don't think of the fact that sometimes outfits with buttons are very difficult for people, some people to work with. And nobody thinks of those things. Many
things, straps, you know, just the fabric, whether it's breathable, whether it's movable. And in fact, I'm wearing yoga pants right now, and they're very comfortable. So it's all these different parts of designing. And that's what we talked about at one of the charades, where designers got together and people with disabilities, with cross disabilities, talked about how we love fashion too, but it has to be accessible for us.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. In the next minute or so, go ahead and plug your website one more time.
Thank you very much. My website is slowwalkersseemore.wordpress.com.
And it's been a great pleasure to have you here, Heather. We really enjoyed having you. And we'll look forward to our next edition of Disability News and Views. So long, everybody.